Well, security at home now, and questions about whether the CIA could spy on people through their refrigerators. There's this report out from Wired Magazine's national security blog that says the CIA director, David Petraeus, recently spoke about smart technology in our homes, technology that connects a television or an oven to the internet. It's all supposed to make our lives easier, but Director Petraeus says spies could use that technology to keep an eye on people without their knowledge. Let's take this to the judge. Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, is with us. I mean,
you can't make this up.
The CIA is not supposed to collect evidence or do anything in the United States. That's the job of the FBI.
Well, it's not only the job of the FBI, but the statute creating the Central Intelligence Agency in 1947 specifically prevents them from collecting information about individuals in the United States. Now, can they collect scientific data? Can they collect atmospheric information? Can they collect information from public sources? Of course they can. But we're talking about targeting or spying on a human being in the person's home, absolutely prohibited under the law. So it's a bit of a head-scratcher as to why General Petraeus, a man of great repute and, as far as I know, great honor and integrity, would say this. He's either revealing what might happen, or he's saying, you better watch out, this won't happen under my watch, but I want you to know what's out there. Or, to the consternation of the people that work for him, he's revealing what they're doing, if they're doing it.
Well, they're not supposed to come in my home.
Correct.
They need a search warrant for that, don't they?
Yes, they do. The government needs a search warrant to come in your home, personally, directly, or virtually. I'm not talking about if they're chasing a bad guy into your home. I'm not talking about an emergency situation. The government can't use, for example, heat-seeking devices from a vehicle in front of your house. The Supreme Court has said no. That's the same as going in the house. And to get in the house, you have to have a search warrant. And in order to get a search warrant, it can't be a fishing expedition. You have to go to a judge and explain under oath, the you being the federal agents, what evidence of crimes there is in the house.
But, you know, if they can come collect whatever they want illegally, and unless they use it to try to prosecute or to try to affect some end, we might never even know.
That's the regrettable and sad part about this. Unless the evidence that they obtain is used in court or in some public way, we will never know what they have obtained from us. So, without scaring people into staying awake at night, is General Petraeus revealing what is already going on? Or is General Petraeus saying, watch out what you buy, because bad people in a future government could do this with it? I don't know what the general meant.
So the government...
When I saw this, I thought it was one of these crazy emails that we all get in this business.
Some blogger.
From over the weekend, but he said it, and he's the director of the CIA.
So do you think he knows that I have almond milk, Heineken, Red Bull, and water, and some Diet Coke in my refrigerator?
He does now.
He does, right? I know, but I mean, he knows about the hummus, too, though. I mean, they're keeping it just doesn't sound like very interesting.
You know, I don't understand the technology. So if there's a computer chip in your microwave or your refrigerator, I don't know if it lets them listen to you having a conversation in your kitchen, or if it tells them what's in the refrigerator or what's being cooked in the microwave.
It depends on what kind of chip they put in there, because I ain't got no chip in my stuff.
Right.
Guaranteeing to you.
Same here.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, you're right. I mean, that's the troubling aspect of this. We don't know where the computer chips are, and we don't know who in the government is doing what with them.
Yeah, there's probably some old cottage cheese in there too. Eat that.
Ricotta.
Get out of my refrigerator. Thank you, Judge.
Welcome, Shep.
Happening now, they say politics make strange bedfellows, and in one really odd alliance, the Tea Party is joining forces with, get this, labor unions and environmentalists in what could be a significant free speech case. Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst, is joining us. This is a case out of Georgia, right, where a Republican senator has introduced a law, written a law that would allow police to arrest people who are protesting outside private homes.
You know, President Obama signed in secret last week a federal law that allows the Secret Service to ban protests anywhere near anyone that the Secret Service is protesting. So I am not surprised that some states, although we only know of one, Georgia, as you point out, John, are trying to pick up on this on the state level. Here are the basics. The First Amendment protects your right to free speech, your right to associate, your right to be in public groups, your right to shout at the government, your right to protest the government, called a redress of grievances. So such a statute, the one the president signed last week and the one that is being proposed in Georgia, should it ever be enacted by the legislature and signed by the Georgia governor, directly contradict the First Amendment. That's why you have groups as disparate as labor unions on the left and the Tea Party on the right saying, we all want the right to protest.
Well, this is, I guess, geared at trying to prevent the kind of mayhem that could erupt when, say, a labor union pickets outside the home of a corporate head. We've seen those situations, and they can get pretty ugly.
Yes, we have. And in fact, John, the Georgia state senator or legislator, I'm not sure exactly which house of the legislature he is in, is himself the head of a major corporation somewhere outside of Atlanta, who has himself been the target of these demonstrations, which is all the more reason he shouldn't be doing this, because he cannot use his position in the government to stifle free speech. We're not talking about demonstrations at 3 o'clock in the morning to keep the children awake. There obviously is a time, place, and manner regulation. We're talking about what he wants, an absolute ban on certain types of demonstrations by certain people for certain political opinions. That the First Amendment simply won't tolerate, and that's why you have the right and the left joining in opposition to it.
Well, and this thing that you mentioned that President Obama signed is essentially the same kind of law that would apply nationwide?
Yes. Yes, it's a very interesting statute, John. There was very little public debate and there were no public hearings, and it lets the Secret Service make this decision on the basis of what the crowd is going to say. So if the crowd is pro-President Obama, the Secret Service can let them stay. If the crowd is against President Obama, the Secret Service can disperse them. Now, this law is only a week old. So far as we know, it's never been used, but it too is a candidate ripe for invalidation by a judge.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing that King George might have wanted.
Actually, even he didn't go that far.
Right. Judge Andrew Napolitano, interesting. Thanks very much.
Pleasure to be with you. Where's Jenna? Is she there?
Jenna's right here.
All right.
She'll be talking soon enough.
Thank you, Judge, for that. I don't want to be forgotten. Judge Napolitano and I are in makeup together in the morning. He may not want to share that with you. Here, Judge, we have a lot of very interesting legal conversations at that time. Judge, thank you very much.
So please turn off all electronic devices. It's the annoying rule we must all follow during takeoff and landing when we fly. For years, the FAA has been telling us it's a safety issue.
Well, but now, Melissa Francis, the FAA is reportedly reviewing that policy and could lift the ban. So does that mean it was never a safety issue in the first place? Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst, joins us live. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm laughing because...
Are we trying to shake hands here? Is that what?
Oh, God
my
bless
goodness.
you. I'm laughing. Don't worry, Steve. I'm laughing because the FAA does not want to acknowledge whether there was ever any scientific basis or any legitimate fear about personal digital assistants, iPads and iPhones and Blackberries, interfering with the pilots in the first place.
So then where did that come from?
Well, it came from the FAA, notwithstanding some resistance from the airlines.
With an abundance of caution.
With an abundance of caution. By the way, last night the FAA claimed that it has always said to airlines, you can permit this if you want. And the airlines are saying, what? We never knew that. You told us that we couldn't, that this was the government's rule. But I must tell you of these experiences that I have had in the past 2 or 3 months. I've flown about 12 times. 3 of those times, my BlackBerry and my iPad worked the entire flight. They didn't tell us not to use it. They didn't tell us it would work. Many people were using it, and apparently there was no interference. The only time they cautioned us, as you pointed out during the break, takeoff and landing.
You know, I covered tech for a long time, and tech executives used to tell me at unnamed phone companies that it doesn't interfere with the signal, that this was always an overabundance of caution or something, or is it just control?
I don't know if, well, the government does like to control people. That's another story. We can talk about that for a long time.
Wait a minute.
So Alec Baldwin, when he said, look, I'm not going to turn that off. So
you want me to defend Alec Baldwin?
It would have had no impact.
Apparently, it would not have had an impact.
But it was still the law.
It was
still the law.
Correct. But the FAA now recognizes that there might never have been a basis for what it ordered, and it is thinking about allowing the airlines to decide. So you'll have a choice. Some airlines will advertise you can't talk on the phone, or if you can, you have to keep quiet. But you can use your BlackBerry.
Could be a good way to steal customers. Come on our airline. We'll let you
fly me.
You know, text as
type.
as much as you want when you get
But
home.
remember, those BlackBerries that also liberate,
Yeah.
they're a tether.
That's true.
The boss will want to know, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
Why are you in Omaha?
Right.
All right, Judge Andrew Napolitano, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Guys.
As more and more companies are now asking job seekers for their Facebook passwords. And believe it or not, the judge says that in a lot of these cases, it is all completely legal. That can't be.
Well, it's legal for them to ask, but you don't have an obligation to give it to them.
But if you don't give it to them, they're going to be...
Well, there's a couple of absolutes here. If the potential employer is the government, it's not legal to ask, they can't demand it, and they can't get it because the Fourth Amendment protects it. So if you're applying for a job with a Board of Education or a local police department, they know they can't ask for it, and you have no obligation to give it. The problematic area is in the private sector. And the problem is, as you pointed out in the introduction to this segment, it's brand new. There are no appellate court rulings on whether this is so. So people like I, who are legally trained and watch this for a living, have to sort of guess at which way the courts are going to go. This is in the category of human information that most courts would say, no, you can't have it. It's like the key to your locker or the key to your car or the key to your house. But people will give it because they want the job. They want to please the person who's asking for it.
But, you know, they'll never tell you that you didn't get the job because you declined to give your Facebook password.
Right.
But that will be the reason, and you just surmise that that was the reason.
There are some cases in which employers have asked for private information from employees. The employee didn't give it over, and the employee either lost their job or didn't get a promotion. They sued and successfully persuaded a jury that the reason they lost their job or lost the promotion was because they didn't fork over the private information. Those people have won those cases. They're very rare, Neil.
Right.
Usually those cases are settled. They never reach a judge or
But what's going on here, really, Judge? I mean, it wasn't too long ago where, you know, your Social Security, and that's a given now. They always get that. And then all of a sudden, your credit report, they got their hands on that. And now whatever, you know, social sites you belong to, they're getting their sites on that. I mean, is anything?
What's going
Secret?
on? What's going on is the loss of privacy. The assault,
Big time, big time.
The assault was begun by the government.
But what could
after
your
9/11.
Facebook account say about you? Or you know, what new dimension does this give a potential boss?
I would think that if the employer had someone friend you, they could see what's on your Facebook page. But perhaps if they had your personal password, they might be able to see everything that you've put there, even things that you've designated just for certain friends. And some of that might be embarrassing to you, and some of it might be so private that they're not entitled to it. Look, just because I share with you a photograph of me and X, fill in the blank, doesn't mean that I want our bosses to be aware of the existence
You
of
and I
that
know that was a
photograph.
dark and stormy night. But I seriously, but doesn't part of you just cringe a little bit?
bothers-
That, you know, that's a little weird.
Here's what bothers me, is that there is no outrage at the loss of privacy.
Right.
Last weekend, someone said the CIA can spy on you through your dishwasher. That sounds like a joke. You know who the someone was? General David Petraeus, the director of the CIA. And there was no outrage. If that's true, and it comes from the chief spy in the country, there should be an outrage, but there isn't.
Well, this is why I've never done dishes. Thank you, Judge, very much. He's good stuff, huh?
New concern about smartphone apps and your privacy. Researchers from NC State University say advertisers are getting access to your information about you through the ads that are served up with some of the apps. With us now is the Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. What exactly is the problem here?
The problem is twofold. One is that depending upon the app that you purchase, you are inadvertently giving the server access to everything that's stored into your mobile phone. So you're saying to whoever you purchase the app, go look at my contact information. Here's Shep Smith's cell phone number. That's problem number one. Problem number two is information stored by computer servers is available to the government without a search warrant. That may trouble some people. It may not trouble others.
Why is that?
Because the Patriot Act permits information stored by computer servers to be seized by federal agents without going to federal judges. This is troublesome if you think that big government is getting too big. The other issue is, and I tried to read these things, when you purchase the app or download the app, it tells you this, but it does not tell you it in language that an average consumer would understand. Many states have a plain language law, meaning the company has to tell you what it's doing to or for or with you in language you can understand. It's very convoluted. The print is very tiny, it's difficult to read and difficult to decipher.
So that we're clear on one point, if I keep my files on paper in a filing cabinet, which kills a bunch of trees and takes up a bunch of space, the feds can't get at it.
Well, without a search warrant.
Without a search warrant. But if I leave it on my computer, the feds have free reign.
Yes. Yes, so long as the server can download what you have on your computer, and the apps facilitate that happening.
Wow.
Even though the server gives you a warning in high-level legalese, meaning you got to read it 4 or 5 times to understand it, telling you that that might happen.
There's no privacy.
There's very little privacy. It disturbs me that people are not upset about the loss of privacy.
They don't care. They're too worried about, Judge, thank you.
Pleasure, Shep.
Steve, new revelations in the failed Fast and Furious case sparking more speculation that there was a huge government cover-up. ATF agents captured lead gun-running suspect Manuel Fabian Silas Acosta in May of 2010, but they did not hold him. Instead, they released him after he promised to call them and work with them. No surprise, though, right? He never kept his promise. We're joined right now by Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, in the Fast and Furious scandal, which you have chronicled, where does this stand?
Well, this is high up on the scale of bad law enforcement and failing to reveal to Congress what they've asked about. I'm not sure which is worse. The absolute absurd bungling of letting this guy go and expecting him to cooperate with the government, or the Attorney General's failure to tell the Congress about it. When the Attorney General doesn't know these things, or knows them and doesn't tell them, it creates a natural sense of suspicion on the part of members of Congress and both parties who oversee the Justice Department. And it leads you to believe there's got to be more. These things just keep coming. What are they keeping from the Congress? When he's under oath, he has an obligation to tell the truth, whether it's a painful truth or not.
Let me just interject logic. The ATF people that I've dealt with in the past, extremely bright. They work they have extremely tough, perilous positions in a lot of things.
They do.
Why in their life, in their line of duty, and what handbook does it say, here's a bad guy, give them your phone number and tell them to get in contact? There's something else here.
Write my phone number down on a $10 bill. And don't spend that bill because then you wanted the number.
Maybe that's what happened.
This is so slapstick. Look, I recognize from my prior life that law enforcement is not always a neat, easy package wrapped up in a bow. And sometimes law enforcement has to deal with people that you wouldn't bring home to your house.
Exactly.
But this is so sloppy that it's laughable, and the Congress has a right to know about it, and the Attorney General is not telling everything.
Now, Judge, I want to know more about this. I'm going to just jot my number down, if you wouldn't mind, and you can call me later. Is that all right?
Yes, Brian.
All right.
I don't know. I think it might be mine.
Right. There you go.
All right, the phone is off.
There you go, Judge. You can call me later. Let's see if that works.
Which is your number on here?
It's right next to George Washington. I wrote it right over his head like a halo.
The pressure on the Attorney General to leave is going to increase, and it may become overwhelming.
And this actually go before the election, you believe, right?
He might have to go before the election.
All right.
ISA and Grassley are not piling on. They're looking for the truth.
All right, Judge. Always great to see you.
Thank you.
Check in with you again.